we want to talk about digital out of home and retail media. And I'm really proud to have Kai Thäsler here. Most of you know Kai already. Hi, Kai. He's a managing director of the German Out of Home Association, a professor, and a long-time friend also. You don't have a microphone, right? That's... It helps. Exactly. And Kai, you are the best person to discuss a little bit, about the latest trends in digital out of home and retail media. And before we start that, this is a great example how out of home works, right? I mean, you all know Kloppo. He left Liverpool last weekend. As a German, obviously, was a big story here. It's a mural, so it's not digital, but it shows the power of great photos and great images in public. So, and the whole city was plastered with these ones. So it's really cool.
It's great, actually. It shows what happens if you see out of home. It's a picture that gets into your head and it remains there. It stays there. That's the strength of out of home.
Yeah. And it's selfies, huh? It's a social extension that makes it so interesting. But before, we always need to, frame the whole thing a little bit, And, we're consultants. We need our frameworks, otherwise we cannot survive. So we look, what do we have? Well, we have really, digital out of home, which is really focused on networks, huge screen networks, and then goes all the way to iconic. And then we have from most commercialized to very experienced. Right. And, the most extreme form is screen networks, digital out of home, thousands of screens, Tesco, whatever, and then you have media facades. The most credible one is probably Burj Khalifa, the tallest tower in the world, with lots of great signage. So this is a little bit the area we're talking about. And I want to talk about the boom of digital out of home. So how green is out of home in general? Because, it's digital, huh?
Yes, of course. Out of home in general is very green. And I think the most important thing is if you look at how this medium works, it's a mass medium. So the question is how to reach a bunch of people, 1,000 contacts, with which pollution do you need, to which COW do you need to produce commercial. And the interesting part is that out of home, both traditional and digital, is the greenest medium. That's interesting, isn't it? Because you reach so many people with only one message and only one billboard or one screen. Yeah. So it's totally different to all the other media.
So that's a big thing, and that's when we have green GRP and all of these tools. It's really, media buyers are really focusing more and more on this one, right? It becomes relevant.
Actually, that's interesting because it's getting more and more important for lots of companies. It's not only because they want to have green campaigns. The other things, if they need money from their banks, if they need money from their shareholders, if they do campaigns for the images, everybody asks, what do you do for the environment? So green campaigns are the future.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Talk about iconic. I mean, this is Seoul. I went to Seoul a few weeks ago, and just amazing. You go to Tokyo, you go to all these, metropolitan cities, and you see huge digital billboards. In Europe, well, we have London, and then that's pretty much it. Madrid
actually,
a little bit.
Yeah, that's a pity actually, because if you talk about iconic, you hardly see anything in Germany, but from a media point of view, and I used to be CEO of a media agency for several years, from a media point of view, you only measure contacts. You don't care. You care about the medium at the size of it out of home. On the one hand side. On the other hand side, you're buying contacts in target groups. So the question, the big discussions is about measurement, about contacts, about target groups in public space, about how many media do you need, how many billboards, and how many screens do you need to collect your target group. So the way of thinking in Europe, and especially in Germany, is totally different. It's not about being huge, big, and bold. Of course, that's out of home anyway.
But being efficient and boring, right?
That's
German.
That's German. That's German, actually. Yeah.
Good. So there's no hope for big iconic in the foreseeable future. Good. Then we have to travel around the world to look at it, which is not very sustainable either. But that's a different story. There's also a new trend, social and fake. Yeah. And I know Dave is probably somewhere here. Dave always hates it, when you see all these great videos, of these great things. Brands love it somehow, right?
Actually, the thing is, if you're talking about the people who produce it, they're all social media campaigns. And the interesting thing about out of home is people are trying to find out if it's real or if it's fake. So the question is, sometimes you really have iconic campaigns in the real world, and they get even more iconic in social media. So that's something that connects both ways of thinking. The one is what happens in the real world, what's happened in the fake world. And I think it's something, of course, it's fashion at the moment. Everyone wants to do it on the one hand side. On the other hand side, I think it's something, it's not bad for our out-of-home business, it's something that pushes it.
Kai, let's talk about the city of Stuttgart.
Oh, wow.
It's a small, well, then not small, but it's a maybe top 10 city in Germany or so. It's, you know, Mercedes, Porsche have all there. And there was a big tender for out of home a year ago, 2 years ago, and there was an interesting trend. Could you a little bit elaborate that?
Yeah, the thing is that the city decided to turn to digital more than to classical. Why did they do this? Because they said on a digital campaign, on a digital billboard, you can have 6 campaigns in a row, and a classic billboard's only once in a time. And I think that's interesting from one point of view. If you look at the big cities, the metropolis, if you look at the hearts of the cities, I think there's going to be a change from classic billboard to digital on the one hand side. On the other hand side, in other regions, in the countrysides, or for other kinds of campaigns, you still keep classic billboards. So I think in Germany you've got both movements. One is digitalization in the streets, street furniture, for example, or just bigger formats on the one hand side. On the other hand side, growth in classic is still strong. So out-of-home is the fastest growing medium in Germany at the moment.
That's incredible. After so many years, you know, it was
incredible,
lagging, but now it's really booming. But they're really reducing also, right, the number of classic billboards to digital. So it's really about, you know, the cityscape, you know, about having less advertisement there and reducing it on some more digital.
I think that's important. On the one hand side, the other hand side, it changes the way cities, communities are looking at the medium, because digital out-of-home usually contains content. So for someone who's a mayor in a city, or someone who's willing to communicate with his citizens, the content shown on these screens is important. And if you look a little bit ahead, what happens in Germany, and as most of the parts of the world, is that they're trying to develop smart cities. And the question is how to address people. Television doesn't work anymore. Just 60+ people online in their bubbles. If you talk about newspapers, nobody reads newspapers. The youngest don't anymore. So the question, how to reach people? And if you want to reach people with content, you need a touch point where they have, or can, or might see it. And that's out of home. So that's why digital out of home is changing the way how digital out of home is considered as a medium. So it's more a medium than just an advertising screen. And that's very important to get very good touch points in the hearts of those cities.
But now these touch points are moving closer to the point of sale.
Yes.
Talking about retail media, which is the biggest hype.
Yeah.
Amazon announced 40 billion revenue last year. We all know the vast majority is online, but some of them are in store. And we have seen Tesco, for example, they're rolling out 6,000 screens within 20 months in all of their stores. Yeah. That's quite massive, huh?
It's incredible. And from a out-of-home point of view, it's so interesting because retail media is something very old. On parking lots, on supermarket space, you have classic billboards, and you can select them piece by piece. And actually, it's the value of this retail media is it's the last impression before the act of sale, and before you go and decide what to buy. And when we talk about the picture printed in your head, put into your head by digital out-of-home and by classic out-of-home, that's the strength. And that's why it's booming at the moment, because people are looking at the funnel, the sales funnel, and say, okay, we have to have the last picture of my brand, of my product, of my offering before someone sells something, buys something. And that's the strength, and that's the power of retail media.
But it's a different budget usually. Yeah. So it smells like digital out of home, but it's not, right? I mean, for the industry here, it's great because they're selling the same screens, the same hardware, but the budgets are a totally different thing.
I think that's it, because budgets are coming usually from the companies who are already listed in these supermarkets, for example. So it's retail means it's new kind of media, it's new kind of budgets, it's new kind of offerings, and it's more calls to action than classic. And actually, that's the same with billboards on the supermarket lots. So it's always a call to action, the last call of action, the last push, and the budget comes from people who are selling and not really brand builders.
Kai, we could talk so much longer, but unfortunately, our time is limited. But tomorrow we have a full day of retail media, digital out of home, lots of cool people. And Kai, thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you.